Hello, Tennessee. I'm State Representative Vincent Dixie, and I'm speaking to you today from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm sitting only a couple miles from the public schools that I attended and the university that I graduated from. Twice. Go Big Blue. This is the community where I started my own businesses. And this is where my wife Eric and I are raising our two beautiful daughters, Noelle and Hannah Maria. I'm a proud father, husband, and Tennessean who cares deeply about the future of our state. Black, white, or brown, I want all our children to grow up with better opportunities than what we had. I want them to have safe, vibrant neighborhoods where we can take care of each other, where we can work together to make a better future. That's why I ran for State House in 2018. For years, I watched our state head down two different paths. One where people with power and privilege kept doing great, and another where families who work hard and play by the rules never seem to catch a break. I've seen a state government run by politicians who will move mountains for the wealthy while refusing to address the problems that affect everyday families and people who punch a clock. Tennesseans want to have a little money in their pocket, food on their table, great schools, and to have a life where they can retire with dignity. That's the American dream. Our state government should want that for every person, regardless of where you live or who your parents are. Article 1 of the state constitution says that our government is instituted for the peace, safety, and happiness of all people. Instead, the levers of power are guarded by politicians who would rather have us believe we're in competition with one another. But here's the truth. We're all in this together. On Monday, Bill Lee will offer his State of the State address. It will be his final address of his term. And make no mistake about it, he'll be trying to convince you to give him another 4 years in office. And when he's standing at the speaker's podium, he's going to paint a rosy picture, but he won't tell you the whole story. He'll talk about a few accomplishments his administration has made, but he won't mention the many ways he falls short. He'll talk about some new investments, but he won't tell you it's President Biden's and the Democrats in Congress who made them possible. He'll talk about unity without a word about the ways his administration has tried to divide us. Before I talk about our vision for a stronger Tennessee, where every person has the freedom to thrive, I want to address three things: infrastructure, the economy, and our public education system. Let's start with infrastructure. A report last week showed that Tennessee needs $62 billion worth of infrastructure improvements. That's things like roads, bridges, schools, universities, and water lines. 2/3 of these projects are unfunded. On Monday, you can expect the governor is going to announce billions of dollars worth of new construction projects that will reshape local economies, provide years of local good jobs and opportunities, and make historic investments in Tennessee. But here's what they won't say. Thank you, President Joe Biden. Thank you, Democrats in Congress. That's the truth. Thanks to Biden's rescue plan, American Rescue Plan, his Infrastructure Jobs Act, Tennessee is set to receive billions of dollars that will help us make a down payment in these communities across the state. In addition to the very important work of replacing and crumbling roads and bridges, Biden's legislation will help Tennessee extend everywhere from Mountain City to Memphis. Because of President Biden's Tennessee is going to be better with improvements in an aging water system and infrastructure. We'll also upgrade stormwater systems, which will help us reduce flooding to keep homes and businesses safe. Remember, the money is here thanks to Joe Biden. That's who deserves the credit. We know we're going to hear about Tennessee's economic recovery, and it's coming along thanks to billions of dollars worth of federal support to families, schools, and governments and business owners. But we all know that Tennessee's state recovery is much too uneven and leaving far too many behind. In the governor's world, the economy is measured by corporate profits, Wall Street stocks, and meetings with CEOs. In the real world, where most Tennesseans live, the stock market is not the economy. Now think about public schools. For a couple of months, Governor Lee has been talking about changing the formula we use to fund public education in Tennessee. For years, public education advocates, teachers, parents, even us Democrats have proposed reforms to better fund our schools. Tennessee invests the least amount of money to educate each student than every other state in the Southeast, except one. Tennessee ranks 45th in the country in the amount of money we spend on students. 45th. That's shameful, and it should be criminal. If Governor Lee and the supermajority want to catch up to Alabama, we have to spend an additional $1.2 billion each year. If you want to break out the bottom 10 and make a real investment in our economic future, we have to match what Kentucky does and put $2.5 billion on the table, more on the table. When the state pays to relocate a Fortune 500 company, they pay millions of dollars, and this is embarrassing, but the direct result of the policy decisions made by the majority party. They have failed to address our public school funding crisis for a decade. They have forced teachers to do more with less and less. They have made it worse with schemes that defund our public schools brick by brick. We cannot expect our students to grow up and win first-class jobs on low-class education budget. Every Tennessee child, no matter their zip code, deserves the highest quality education that can possibly be provided. Instead, once again, we're asking our teachers to do more. It's time the governor do his job and give educators a raise that hits their bank accounts. Instead of fighting over which books can be in a library, let's fight to provide every classroom with high-quality books and materials that students need to learn. Instead of prioritizing politics over common sense, let's prioritize children's health and safety so that they can stay in the classroom learning. It's an absolute shame that much of what has unfolded over the last 2 years has been so politicized by the governor and his administration and the majority party. More than 22,000 Tennesseans have died from COVID. That's the equivalent of every person in Overton or Scott County dying in less than 2 years. And Tennessee deserves leaders who will act like leaders. This has been a public health emergency. Tennessee deserves leaders who make tough calls and keep people safe, even if it costs them political capital. The days where responsible Republicans would stand up to the extremism in their own party feels like ancient history. Instead, they seem to enjoy the politics of division and exclusion. Led by a governor, we waste days and weeks and months on radical dog whistle politics and culture war bickering. They invent fake causes like illegal protesting at the Capitol, but we know there's no such thing. And critical race theory, which is the only American history they are too fragile to hear. They're fear-mongering against LGBTQ youth, trying to get people riled up with no concern about the consequences of their actions. They moralize about abortion, and ignore the root cause of the unintended pregnancies. They preach about election security to glorify self-obsessed one-term president, while at the same time saying elections were safe and secure. We have to inform, not inflame. Perhaps we shouldn't be surprised at the majority's disregard of solving real problems and serving our families. Before the pandemic hit, a lot of families were struggling. Whether it's improving wages for working folks, making childcare accessible, for tackling the cost of health insurance, Governor Lee and his party have shown no interest in doing the hard work that moves us all forward. Over and over again, they demonize people who were laid off through no fault of their own, while their budgets increase tax breaks for the wealthy and big corporations that have profited off the pandemic. This summer, Governor Lee and his billionaire allies will be leading the charge to amend Tennessee's constitution with a policy that will boost corporate profits even higher, all at the expense of wages and benefits and the respect for working people. And just this week, the supermajority followed the orders of DC Republicans and drew themselves new political maps that take power away from African American voters in an attempt to enshrine their unchecked power for another decade. This is who they are. A political party with no compassion, no guiding principles, except seeking more power. A party that enjoys singling out the weak and vulnerable to make themselves feel strong. A party that's ready to serve themselves through the good times and the bad and leave the rest of us on our own. Tennessee, we don't have to continue down this path. There's a better way. There's a vision for our state. And we believe in a future where the middle class values like rewarding work, not wealth, taking care of each other get top priority. That means we're going to grow good jobs with benefits for hard days' work and not participating in a race to the bottom for workers. Consider this. With Ford's multi-billion-dollar truck plant in West Tennessee, we are still reaping the benefits of a Democratic governor, Bill Bredeson's leadership from a decade ago. Middle-class values mean we build childcare infrastructure and preschool options in every community that wants it, because people can't go back to work and advance in their career when they don't have accessible and affordable childcare. That means moving an economy where paid family leave and medical leave is available to everyone, and an opportunity to bond with their children, especially during this pandemic and this crisis. Democrats believe healthcare is a human right. We could tap into billions more federal dollars and extend health coverage to nearly every working American in this state. We can fight back against closed hospitals and those high outrageous deductibles. We can do away with our medieval marijuana laws and stop locking people up on ridiculous possession charges. We can start treating cancer patients with a cash crop that boosts our economy by billions. We can invest in schools, technical careers, and higher education and put students on a trajectory to compete in the workforce in any state, in any country in the world, for that fact. We're fighting for a stronger middle class where everyone should be able to see a doctor when you need one. Keep food on your table, have money to pay your bills, and to provide a public education for your children. Rural, urban, black, white, brown, old, young, newcomer, or native. Let's unite and share our future together and put aside our division in politics. Let's come together and work toward a common goal instead of ignoring the problems our families face. It's time to turn the page here in Tennessee. We need to leave partisan politics and bickering behind us. We need to come together and make Tennessee a better place. The Democratic caucus is prepared to reach across the aisle and make a betterment for our state, for everyone in it. Thank you, and God bless Tennessee.